Hi, my name is Kajsa. I have been a long-time Winx Club fan since I first found out about the amazing show. In order to celebrate the release of Winx Club, The Magic is Back, Zuri Washington, the voice of Aisha, will discuss more about her experience voicing the Fairy of Waves in the reboot and the importance of representation, diversity, and creativity. You are listening to a special Winx episode of Voices and Visions Behind the Scenes. Hello everyone and welcome to Voices and Visions Behind the Scenes. Today we have Zuri with us. Welcome.
Hi everybody, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Could you please introduce yourself for the viewers?
Yes, my name is Zuri Washington. I use she, her pronouns, and I play Aisha, Fairy of Waves, in the reboot of the Winx Club, now on Netflix.
Yes, welcome to the Winx Club community.
Thank you. Everyone's so cute, and we have such great fans and fan art. People draw incredible things. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, there are very, very talented people out there.
Mm-hmm.
You have an impressive background in musical theater, and you come from a family with a rich legacy in music and dance entertainment. Did growing up in that kind of environment influence your passion for performing?
Well, I do musical theater, but I'm the only person in my family that does like traditional musical theater. My brother is a dancer, my cousin is a dancer. They have some acclaim in their fields, so they do like concert dance, like Martha Graham, Alvin Ailey type dance. And then I have a chunk of my family as musicians. I have an aunt who's a singer and a cousin who's a singer and an uncle that's a piano player. They used to have a group called New Voices of Freedom back in the 80s. They sang with Bono and stuff like that. So like it definitely was inspiring for me to get into the arts, to be a part of such a big artistic family. And I've always had the support of my family to pursue the arts, which is more than I can say for some people. I know a lot of people, their families are like, no, don't do that. Please be a doctor. Please do something else. But my family's always been really supportive.
Oh, that's so fun to hear, because it's not very easy to get into the musical theater industry or voice acting as well.
No, it's not. There have been a lot of trials and tribulations, but I'm very grateful, but I also work really hard. So I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had, but I also work really hard to get to where I've gotten to. So yeah, it's all kind of just worked out in the end, and I'm very happy to be where I am right now.
Yeah. And what was it like to stepping into your first leading role as Daniela in the national tour Bring It On, the musical?
Well, that was crazy for me because that was right after I graduated from college. And like post-college, I don't think most people are expecting like that they'll get their first big leading role immediately leaving college. But I was, again, fortunate enough that show was, I think, because they had done a national tour initially and then gone to Broadway. And then we were a part of the post-Broadway touring production of that show. And so it just all worked out. It just happened to be my year where that was a show that I fit really well and that I could sing and I could act and I fit the bill for whatever they were looking for. So it was a really cool experience. And, being a part of these really big IPs, these really big intellectual properties like Bring It On, which has existed for, my God, I can't, more than a couple decades at this point, is really cool because people like have an idea of what the show or what the movie is about, and they can enjoy it in a really cool way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very easy to get a leading role as well, especially after graduating, as you said. But did you audition or did they just ask you?
So I definitely auditioned. I'm not offer only yet. I wish. That's my dream. I want to be Audra McDonald. I want people to be like, hey, do you just want to do this? Yes, please. But no, I auditioned. I'm trying to remember how many rounds it was. It was at least 3 rounds of the process. But you know, we had to bring it on as it's a cheerleading show, so there's a lot of dance. So they had us do a couple rounds of singing and acting, a couple rounds of dancing, and then once I got to the end, I knew it was the end because it was me. I realized I was like, oh, it's just me and this other girl. There was one other person, and I was like, oh God. And I think it was actually like my worst audition of all of the auditions that I had done for the show, because I was aware, I became aware all of a sudden that I was really close to this opportunity, and I got really scared. But thankfully they still I still did well enough, and they still believed in me, and so then and the rest is kind of history, you know.
Yeah, and do you have any memorable moments from the tour, or mishaps perhaps?
Definitely, because when I'm trying to remember this story, it was, let's say, a few months into us doing the show. I believe we were in Detroit at the Fox Theater in Detroit, and I was really like, not like uncontrollably vomiting ill or anything like that, but I was sick, and I could feel that my body was kind of shutting down and my brain was shutting down. And I was like, I think I have a fever. I don't know what's happening, but I think I have a fever. And I I've grown since this, because now I would call out, but at the time it was very much like the show must go on. And my understudies, and for those who don't remember the conceit of Bring It On, the conceit is that there's a white school and there's a black school, or like people of color in the school. So I, being the head black girl in the other school, I had no understudies who were also black. I had no understudies who were also black. And the girls who understudied me were desperate. And they were like, Zuri, please don't call out. We cannot possibly do this. Like, please don't do it. And so I kind of felt an obligation and a responsibility to the show to not call out because of that. So I get on stage for my first scene, which is a few scenes into the show. I got on stage, and the girl who's my opposite, she fed me her line, and I didn't say anything because I was so sick. I just I couldn't process that she had spoken to me. So I just didn't say anything for like a good like 5 to 10 seconds. And my brain just couldn't remember what my lines were. And we got through the show, but everyone was looking at me because I was looking at them, and I was like, because I could not remember my lines for the life of me, but it's because I was ill.
Yeah. It's not easy when, you know, it's a live performance because the show must go on. You can't just stop.
Yeah. Just got to keep getting through it.
Yeah, exactly. So you voiced major roles in franchises like Warhammer 40,000, Rouge Trader, Smite, and even Pokemon. What first drew you to the world of voice acting, and how does performing live on stage compare to performing behind the mic in voice acting?
So it's funny because I was like I said, I'm a musical theater girly, and for most of my life, my focus has been theater, plays as well, not just musicals, but like focused on theater. So I never thought about voice acting as an avenue for me, only because I knew that it would require a different skill set and building up a different skill set and money to like buy a mic and have a studio and do all of these things. So I just never thought of it as a thing because all my money and my focus was in theater. But I have a friend, her name is Francesca Kahlo, and we've known each other since we were in high school for a long time. And back in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, one of those two, but pre-pandemic, she reached out to me and she said, hey, Zuri, I'm co-producing this a pilot for a new animated show, and we don't know where it's going or what's going to happen with it, but I think you'd be really good in voiceover and I'd really like for you to audition for it. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I can't give you the role. And I was like, didn't expect that. That's okay. I can audition. So she gave me a couple of the roles to audition for, and I ended up booking the lead in that particular pilot. And we did that in studio. I didn't have any of this. This is my booth back here that's blurred out. I didn't have any of that stuff at the time. So we did all of this in studio. I realized what a big deal it was once I met some of the people who were involved. And I was like, oh, like the voice director, who has now gone on. I'm trying to remember. I think she either is involved in Iwanu, I think that's how you say it, on Cartoon Network, and like has gone on to some great things. And then also I worked with someone who was one of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the cartoon from back in the 80s, and Johnny Young Bosch, who obviously was a Power Ranger and Vash the Stampede and Trigun and all these wonderful projects that Johnny Young Bosch has been involved in over the years. But I was like, oh, I'm like among like royalty in terms of voiceover people. And so I had a great experience doing that. I love being in the booth is really cool because it's kind of a very intimate experience that you just don't get to have in theater, because theater, you kind of have to be big. There's a bigness to it, but it's just you and the mic. And kind of like a communion with the mic. And it's very, I don't know, it feels reverent in some ways. And I really enjoyed that. So then I was like, okay, maybe I will pursue this. But I still didn't think that hard about it until the pandemic hit. And the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, theater is dead right now because no one was going to theater. All of Broadway was shut down. All the theaters were shut down. So it kind of gave me the opportunity to then be like, okay, let me explore this avenue. And my partner bought me like a really rudimentary mic. And so I started playing with that. And I got, when I was doing that project that I mentioned, what do I want to call her she was like a voiceover consultant. She was like kind of consulting on the voice direction. It turned out to be Erica Schroeder, who is really well known in the voiceover community for she's Wobbuffet in Pokemon. She's done some Nurse Joy in the past, I believe. I don't know if she still is, but some Nurse Joy. Faye Valentine and Yu-Gi-Oh, like all of these really big anime properties, and obviously Luffy in One Piece being her big claim to fame in the 4K version of One Piece. And so I started doing lessons with her. And so after doing lessons with her for some time, she helped me build up enough to create my demo and connected me with some really cool people through that. And the rest is kind of history. She's the reason I have my current voiceover agent. Shout out to Stuart Talent. Like, she's the reason that I have a great connection with the Studio 3 Beep that is the voiceover studio that we record through for Winx Club and stuff like that. So, yeah, I owe a lot to her.
And then you also have worked a lot with your voice by creating your own podcast show. In 2022 to 2023, you hosted a podcast show called Super Black, where you and your friends discussed diversity in media, superheroes, and their storylines. What inspired you to create this podcast?
Yeah, I started that partially because of the pandemic, and I was like, everyone else is making a podcast, so why shouldn't I? So that was like a big part of it, but I have some friends. So during the pandemic, I was really, because we had nothing better to do, watching a lot of the Marvel TV shows had started to come out around that time. And I'm a big or at least at the time, I was a big poster of spoilers, but not spoilers. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, and I wouldn't spoil, but I would hint very heavily at what was going on. And I had a friend that was like, Zuri, I just feel, I would talk to you about this all day. I feel like you should like do something with that because I enjoy your perspective on these things. And I was like, okay. So at some point I was like, okay, I'm making a podcast. And I decided to create Supah Black. And I wanted to kind of do like a round table situation kind of podcast where I gathered together a bunch of my other nerd acquaintances and friends and family members just to talk about things that I've thought about over the years, but never had not constructive, like whole conversations around, like, what makes someone a superhero? What does that look like for a Black superhero versus a white superhero like Superman? And, kind of but also talking about, to some extent, we've talked about like disability in the comics a little bit, the representation of marginalized communities within comic books and where they succeed and where they fail and stuff like that. And I really, I think comic books are such a mirror of society. Throughout their history, they have been, and it's fun to talk about. I love talking about comic books. I'm a big Batman girl. Like, I have a coffee table book somewhere that's huge about Batman. So like I like to talk about the themes and gods amongst men. That's the concept of DC, more or less. We have Wonder Woman, we have Superman, we have all these people with huge powers. And then Marvel is kind of like your neighborhood superheroes. That's how they've kind of marketed themselves. Like, we live in your neighborhood. We're in New York. I'm Superman, or sorry, not Superman. I meant to say Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man. I'm Daredevil. I'm your next door neighbor. Like that kind of vibe. Just like, so I like talking about the intricacies of that and the dichotomies that exist within it.
Yeah, and speaking of diversity and representation, as a Black American artist in the entertainment industry, do you feel like media represents ethnic diversity well enough, or could it be improved?
It can always be better. We come a long way? Absolutely. Like, even 10, 15 years ago, we've come a long way since then, let alone like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the type of representation we get. Because it's one thing to have like a bunch of, I'll stick to talking about my own identity, but it's one thing to have a bunch of Black people, but how are they being represented? Are they always thugs? Are they always prisoners? Are they always slaves? So it's great to see where media has come, because like, as again, nerd, Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur on Disney Plus, incredible show. It's so good. Like, everyone should watch it. I talk about, I sing its praises constantly. It's an incredible representation of a little Black girl who's the smartest character in the Marvel universe, technically, because she's like, depending on what version you're talking about, but like 10 to 13, and smarter than Tony Stark. Like, that's incredible that accolade has gone to a little Black girl who also is just trying to like live her best life and be a little girl, but happens to just be super intelligent. So I love where we're going, but we can always do better.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, because sometimes I realize that in media you see that, yeah, they call it people, they are the villains or the bad guys often portrayed, which shows a wrong picture of how they actually are in real life, I would say, obviously.
Right.
We shouldn't villainize the other people that are not white.
Right, exactly. And I think like it's exciting to see. I'm really excited by, I love Marvel, don't get me wrong. And I will never be tired of seeing the things that they produce for the most part. But I'm really excited by the DC universe, because before Marvel really got its bearings in the MCU, I was a DC girl. And so it's been so disappointing to see how the extended universe kind of panned out. And I'm really excited to see how James Gunn kind of takes it, because he's very conscious of how characters are portrayed, how they are treated due to perceived ethnicity, race, background, etc. And he creates comprehensive stories that really speak to that. And I think he has such a fundamental understanding of how comic books are supposed to work and how to translate them to the big screen. So it's really exciting to see that happening and see him create new Black characters and new characters with disabilities and things, and just to see them exist in the world without it doesn't have to be a part of the story. It doesn't have to be like a rags to riches figuring out how to circumvent racism, but he talks about it without talking about it.
Yeah, and it's
really good
storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
How are your personal experience shaped the conversation you talked about on your podcast show?
Well, I think I alluded to earlier, I've experienced some trials and tribulations when it comes to this industry. As much as I love entertainment and I love to perform, I've also experienced a lot of grief and a lot of very distressing situations that make me sad. And so when creating a podcast like that, my goal is to open up a conversation, because a lot of these conversations happen kind of behind the scenes. We don't talk about them publicly. And so having a public conversation about what characters and media and in media interpretations of characters mean to various communities, I think is so important, because then you get, which is, I'm kind of hesitating because only because this character is actually a little problematic. But what I love about the intention of the character was, when you have Superman, but then you have Icon, which most people don't know who Icon is. But Icon was same situation, alien came to this planet, but he landed, I want to say, if I'm remembering the story correctly, he landed during either slavery times or during the Reconstruction era. Either way, he landed during a time where it was just 100% not good for Black people at all. But he landed with a Black family, and so assumed that physical representation. And so it's interesting to have that conversation in comic books. He was treated so differently than this white presenting alien. They have the same exact background otherwise, but because Superman presents white, everyone's like, he's America.
Yeah.
But Icon is not. And media literacy is also not very good, unfortunately. The people who are consuming also don't understand what they're watching or what the character is meant to represent. Traditionally, that's the whole conversation behind Superman, whether it's the Henry Cavill version of Superman or the David Corenswet version of Superman. And you have a lot of people who loved Snyder's version and loved that version of Superman, but people who love Superman just as a character and an entity, they understand that David Corenswet's version is actually the original intention of the character. Being sweet and kind of a dork and kind of all these other things, but super powerful and able to use that power for the greatest good.
And since your passion for superheroes really shines through in your podcast, if you ever had the chance to write a big cinematic superhero feature, what themes or story would you want to explore and why?
I think, well, if it's an existing character, I want to try to tackle the Icon. I said he was problematic only because, so I'll try to, the short version of this is that he is a Black Republican. He's conservative. He's a conservative character. And it wasn't the intention of the writer for him to be inspiring because of his conservative values. But he's actually Clarence Thomas, who is a member of the Supreme Court, he's a Supreme Court justice and has been for decades at this point. like loves Icon. He loves that character. And the writer, when he heard that, he stopped writing the character because he was like, that was not my intention. I did not want him to be like, oh yes, Black conservatism. That was not the writer's intention. And unfortunately, that's how this person has taken it and kind of transformed his meaning in a certain way. So if I could tackle the Icon problem, I would love to tackle that. But I also love, there's a character named Etrigan that is a demon, and I would love to deal with that. He speaks in rhyme, and I kind of am obsessed with that. I would love to do that. James Gunn, please call me. But yeah, if I could, like writing my own original piece. I'm actually writing a musical right now.
Oh.
It's less about superheroes traditionally, but it's about the Valkyrie. And yeah, it's a rock musical about the Valkyrie and kind of the hazards of war, but like why we fight, and sometimes the pursuit of war for the sake of trying to make life better, but how much it's like tiring and exhausting to the people who have to propagate it. So that's kind of like what I'm working on right now. And who knows, it might be a musical, it might be a TV show, it might be, who knows, but.
Yeah. How do you translate a story into a musical? Because obviously you sing very often to get your point out, but like, how do you think in that creativity aspect? Because I'm a writer myself, but I write books and not musicals.
Sure. For me, everyone's process is different. I don't write music. I have musical ideas in my head, but I would not be capable of writing a full musical, like with the actual instrumental and everything. So I would need to partner with someone at some point. But for now, what I'm doing is focusing on the lyrics. I'm focusing on the lyrics of the main songs, of like the opening number, the closing number, the I want song, the song for the lead character and what they want out of life and all that stuff. So focusing on that, and for I can kind of build the world and build who, if there's a love interest, what their names are, what war they're fighting at this time, like, and kind of go from there. But for now, starting with the lyrics and seeing what rhymes I can come up with. That's really hard. I've had to use Rhyme Zone a lot to figure out what rhymes with hand or what rhymes with war, and does it make sense in this sentence that I'm trying to create.
Yeah, all credit to everyone who writes lyrics, because I can't write lyrics at all.
Very hard.
Yeah. And speaking of Winx Club, as you mentioned before, you're voicing Aisha, the Faroe Waves. Were you familiar with Aisha and the Winx Club before you got there?
I'm familiar, but I didn't watch Winx Club like a lot growing up, because for me, I was an anime girl, so I was like Sailor Moon all day, every day. That was my thing. And then also comic books. So I watched Batman and Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and like all these kind of things. So that was my main focus. But I was aware of Winx Club. I was like, oh, it's the show with the fairies. And like I'd seen an episode or two when I was growing up. But when I inevitably auditioned for this, I started looking into it a bit more just to familiarize myself again with what how the piece kind of is meant to come together. And then when I did book it, I was like, okay, now I really have to like kind of dive in. Not a lot, because they kind of wanted to change is not the word, but my instruction was to not be cartoony.
Okay.
They wanted it to sound like a little more grounded than prior versions. And that's just for me. I don't know about the other girls, but like for me, they definitely told me like, because if I was being a cartoon, like a traditional cartoon, it would be more like, oh my God, you guys, that's amazing. Like to just like amp it up a little bit. But they were like, no, just like your natural voice, just like elevated slightly. So like you hear what I sound like right now, that's more or less what Aisha sounds like, except like I'm trying to sound 16 and not how old I am. So just a little bit higher.
Okay, but did you have any favorite season or transformation from when you watched the show? Or did you have any?
I wouldn't be able to point to the exact season, but I do like, I think is it Enchantix? Is
Yeah.
that the I think the Enchantix one was the one, because I've seen a compilation of all the transformations just for fun, but like I think it was the Enchantix one is my favorite.
And Aisha has developed as a character for years. Did you feel pressured taking over this role? Because she's loved by so many, and what if, you know, people might not agree on your take?
I don't give that much attention to that. I have to do it for me and feel comfortable with what I'm being asked to do from Rainbow and the Winx people. So like I know that it's a really big deal for a lot of people that all the voice actors are different, because I think in the Italian version it's all the original
Yeah.
Italian actors have come back, which is great, which is incredible. But for whatever reason, they went with a new direction and with us, and I love us, and I think everyone will at some point love us too. It's just different. You just have to get used to the different vibe. But I wasn't afraid to take over from anyone, and actually knew I wound up, when I was doing my research, I was looking up the other women who have done it before. Obviously, Keke Palmer has done it before, but Kiki's very like that's how Keke is. Like Kiki's like that in anything that she's ever done. I love Keke Palmer, but that's not what they wanted. They didn't want like that energy um, from from Aisha. But I also I know Vasthy Mompoint, who did um, the which version?
No, she did the season 8.
What's the other one? Oh, season. Sure. Um, so I know Vasthy. I've worked with Vasthy before. Love Vasthy, but I'm not trying to replicate Vasthy. But it is cool that we know each other and that many years later we happen to be sharing the same role. So it is fun. I have this little what did I get on the Winx website? They were selling, or not selling, they were giving away these beautiful posters of both versions of Aisha. So I have it, and I'll make her sign it at some point so that I have just our little reboot version and original version kind of thing going on. So yeah.
Did you take any inspiration from the other voice actors then? Or did you just do your own interpretation of Aisha?
I did my own interpretation, because when I listened to everyone, there was no specific thing, to me at least, there was no specific thing that I was like, oh yeah, that's Aisha. We all sound like ourselves. Like I know what Vasthy sounds like in real life. So I was like, oh, that just sounds like Vasthy. That sounds like Vasthy talking normally. That sounds like Keke talking normally. So I was like, I'm just gonna be myself. When I auditioned, I didn't think about them, and I got the role because I did my own thing.
And that's sometimes good, because some voice actors, they don't look into the original source material, so they won't get influenced by other voice actors' portrayal, if there are any before that.
Right. Yeah. The only things that I might do that for are when I'm asked to either voice match, or it's a very particular style of show. Like when I did Futurama, obviously I looked at a lot of Futurama, and I've seen Futurama over the years, but like I was like, okay, what's the vibe? What kind of Jamaican accent am I doing? So I have to make sure fitting within the world of the show that has been built thus far for 2 decades or whatever. But it's different when you're doing like a reboot. It's just not the same. They're not looking for exactly the same thing.
Aisha's story hasn't been fully developed yet in the reboot. reboot. Though we know she faces pressure from her royal background with her parents pressuring her. I think it was in one of the episodes, right?
Yeah, there was a well, they did that like whole simulation thing where her parents were like disappointed in her.
Yeah. How do you think her storyline will develop moving forward as we get into the second part of the reboot?
Second part, yeah. That's a good question. Obviously there are things I can't say, but I am curious about the future overall because Aisha didn't come until season 2 originally. So like she's in from the beginning. So that is a whole other different layer to add on to the storyline. And that's one of the main things that has changed. But I think all the girls have their guys, so I'm curious if she'll I've gotten messages on on Instagram from people like, where is your fiance, or like, where is your boy, like and I'm like, I don't know, guys. I promise I don't know anything. So I'm curious if I'll go in that direction, if they'll have one of the girls just be like free for a while, because it is, it's 2025. They might change so that one of the characters doesn't friend. I don't know, but I get the sense that at some point we'll probably get a introduction to one of her past love interests. Whether or not that develops sooner rather than later remains to be seen. But like, yeah, I am as curious as everyone else, and I know a lot of people were also wondering if they would take more of that kind of goddess angle that is originally in God, I don't know what season, but in earlier seasons that was introduced. So I don't know. We'll see what they want to do and what they want to focus on. But yeah, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, so something they've changed with her, or from what I understood, is that she doesn't have this fear of being left alone, as in the original, but she might tackle that in later, or
I feel like they gave that to Tekna in some ways, like that kind of plot line of not being social or being left out of things because she's too robotic and too XYZ. So I don't know, maybe they will add that to Aisha later, but she seems to be the life of the party right now. She's like, I'm dancing. I will, like, let's have a party. Let's like kiki, so to speak. So yeah, I think they're trying to give slightly different emotional through lines to some of the characters, to see where that lands them emotionally throughout the arc of the series. So yeah.
but yeah, it's a different storyline, of course, in the reboot.
Yeah, and I know people, the people are so like, listen, as I've said many times during this interview, I'm a Batman. There are certain plot lines that I'm like, you can't change that. I get it. But also, I have to appreciate the attempt to at least like explore new ground with old characters, because otherwise characters get stale. It's like, okay, yeah, Batman's parents died, boo-hoo. What else is there to him? Well, how else can we like mine the emotional depths of the characters? So we have a new dynamic. Everyone's together from the beginning. What does that change for the different characters? How they meet their partners? How we have now we have Damien, and what does that mean for Flora? And what does that mean? Like, just seeing how that develops, I think can be interesting, and we'll see how it all pans out in the end. But like, I think it makes it exciting. Who wants a reboot of the exact same thing that you've seen before? You might as well just watch the old one. You can watch the old one, but then appreciate that the new one took a different direction.
Yeah, and what are you most excited for the fans to see in the second part of the reboots?
Excited for y'all to see more of Aisha's relationship with her parents, a little more depth to that. Yeah, that's the main thing without giving too much away, but like we all knew it was coming. So just seeing how that pans out and the pressures that she's under being a member of a royal family that the other girls don't necessarily experience in the same way.
Mm. And what was the best part playing Aisha?
I think the best part the best part was when I started doing this, I want to say she's the first character that sounds the closest to me of any character that I'd played up until that point. Um, especially in as big of a show as Winx. So it's cool hearing my voice coming out of a very beloved character. And so yeah, I think that's the funnest part of my Winx Club journey so far.
You have attended many conventions as well recently.
Just the one.
Oh, one. I thought I've seen 3 different. Okay, it might.
We post a lot,
Oh, yeah.
so it's probably the same convention and us from different angles because we all went to Comic-Con this past couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. So you attended a convention recently, and what has been the best part of attending that and getting to talk to the fans? Because usually, as a voice actor, you don't always get the response directly because you've done the work behind the microphone. While on your state on the stage, you can see the reactions live.
I think it's really cool to see the fans in person. That was the first time most of us had met in person as well. The Winx other fairies, we'd not seen each other. We record at home usually on booths. So we were like, oh my God, I've never met you before. So that was cool. But getting to meet the fans was like really special. We had quite a few people standing in front of us, like just talking to us about how much the show means to them. And, the themes of girlhood and friendship. And one woman in particular, I remember she was like, where are shows like Winx anymore? Because these girls, they don't fight over each other's boyfriends. They're not they're supportive of one another. They are always trying to make sure that everyone's taken care of, and we need more of that in the world. And that loved Winx when I was like, however old she was when Winx was first coming around. But it was really heartwarming to hear how much it meant to her. And she was like on the verge of tears at some point. And so seeing that emotion in people's faces and the excitement that they have for because you had on Sonia before, like having Flora have her accent is like a really cool thing for a lot of Latinas in the world, and they're just really excited to like hear that little accent in their ear, because then they're like, oh my God, that's me, that's like my family, or that's someone that I know, and she sounds like my best friend, and so it's just really, it's really cool, it's really cute. Everyone's really adorable when they come to the table. So yeah,
and something I love about this Winx community is there so many talented fan artists out there.
Yeah, incredible artists.
Have they shown you some of the arts, or have you been tagged in Instagram, or how have you seen some of the art?
I've not been tagged in any, but I listen, when I got cast, I immediately started like looking through Instagram or Pinterest and various other platforms. I was like, Aisha Reboot fan art, and I just started collecting. All of them, and I will slowly start to share them. If I can find their tags on Instagram, I'll always share them because I want to shout out the artists. I've reached out to some of them personally to use their art in at the convention, because they deserve the shout out. They were doing incredible work that they display for free on the internet, and people should be able to see it in I'll say 3D, but it's a piece of paper, but still in real life. So it's really cool to be connected with the really artistic, fun part of the fandom as well.
Yeah, that's a fun. You said you recorded at home the reboot, or
Most pretty
oh,
much like I want to say 90% from home.
I thought that you did that in the Freebip studio, or the
We did like some of it I did, like especially toward the beginning. I recorded because we did hours of stuff, like 4 hours at a time, 3, 4 hours at a time. So I would do it at the studio because it's easier when you're doing that many. But when I like 2 hour sessions, I prefer to do it at home. But because I also like, fun fact, I think all of the girls and two men, but I'm not sure which two men, we recorded all the scratch tracks for every character. So like I also recorded scratch, like so I laid down tracks that then the actor came in and followed me, who plays the characters actually in real life. But I did sorry, not Farragon, the other one, Griffin. Let me see, Diaspro, a couple of random characters here and there, and I'm trying to remember. I think there was a third one. Oh, Bloom's mom.
Mm.
So I did and then I also did my own stuff. So it was a little all over the place, but there was a lot of material to do in the first like 3 to 6 months of recording. So yes, I did do a lot of that stuff at 3Beep, but then once we kind of established a baseline, then I did it from.
But so the animation wasn't finished as you were recording for Aisha, or was it finished already?
No, it wasn't finished at all. It wasn't even done. At that point, that I don't even think they had like animatics or any like 2D anything going on, and I didn't see anything until earlier this year, probably. Yeah, that sounds right. Earlier this year is when I first started seeing renderings of the 3D or little placeholders for animation and stuff like that.
It feels like it's very difficult to record the original voice because you don't get to see the material at all. Do you even get the
Yeah, it's
character
hard.
sheet so you sort of know how Aisha looked, or did you just stare at the script screen?
I knew how she looked because, like I said, I am an internet stalker. So I went online and as I was researching, oh God, I'm obsessed. I'm a little upset that she doesn't look like this anymore. But there was a rendering of all of the characters, of all the girls. And Aisha had like a crop top hoodie that was like multicolored, and like this multicolored pleated skirt, and these long, knee length socks. And I'm obsessed with that look. I will figure out how to make it, and I swear I will wear it to a convention one of these days. But like I loved, so I knew basically what she was going to look like because I saw her braids and all that stuff. And then eventually they ended up changing the style of her outfit so it was more in line with the original in terms of color story. The green and the little pinky purple kind of color.
Interesting. And the direction was just from the Freebip director. Did you get in touch with Iginio Straffi, the Italian producer?
No, we never spoke to no, we never spoke to him, unfortunately. It's so the 3Beat people are like the go-betweens for like what the client wants. So they'll tell us what they want and we'll kind of go from there. And for example, like I did a bunch of stuff, but then once they had the animation would look different than how I was saying the words, like emotionally. So they'd be like, oh, can this be a little angrier, or can this have more of a smile in the, like, so more specific direction once they had more animated material for us. But I wish I got to meet him or talk to him, but hopefully one day.
And do you have any fun memories from inside the booth? Because obviously you might have some bloopers or.
Oh God. I never record myself. So obviously they're recording us, but I never record myself in the booth. But I'm trying to think of anything specific that might have happened. I mean, you always have like flubs. I've definitely had a brain a brain fart here and there where my brain just like goes out the window and I'm like trying to say the words. It's impossible. So at some point you're just reading a lot of words and they start to not make any sense anymore. And you're like, hold on, pause. Aisha, Fairy of Waves. Okay, cool. Why was that so hard? But like things like that will happen. But I can't think of anything like specific. I don't think anything crazy happened in the booth.
Just a regular session.
It's a regular session. I think that sometimes it's crazier when I'm not doing my own character, like when I'm doing Diaspro, and try because like my Diaspro was very like, as much as they didn't use my voice. My voice was never meant to be Diaspro, but I still had to differentiate her enough for the sake of whoever was going to come after me. So like my Diaspro is very in my nose, and like when I'm doing different voices or different characters, sometimes like my face gets really hot, or I'm like trying to amp up my energy. Oh my God, Sky! Like just do that kind of, which is very different from Aisha, who's like, I'm a cool girl.
Yeah.
You can see my name in the food on the fridge. And I'm a flip away.
And do you have any favorite scenes from the first part of the reboot?
In the first part, it always sticks in my mind for some reason. I think it might be episode 6, but it's the episode where their powers got taken away. So they're in the forest, camping out. I love that scene. I think it's really indicative of like their friendship and the love that they have for each other, but also how powerful they are even without their powers. I'm telling you, Aisha, my girl, she be kicking butt, and I love it. like she doesn't need, her powers are a bonus, but she's able to like really hold her own even without the water and the waves and all that good stuff. So I love seeing her in her element, so to speak.
And to conclude everything, is there anything you'd like to say to the Winx Club fans around the world? And what do you think longtime Winx fans will be most surprised or excited to see in the second half of the reboot series?
I don't know. Like I said before, I think they'll be excited to just see what happens next. It's exciting to me when you can't guess what's going to happen, and that's the excitement of a reboot. So I think they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, that's not what happened before. So how is this going to end?" Because I under the old version, but I don't understand this new version. So it's exciting to just see what's going to happen next. And I want to say, like, thanks for supporting us. And I know there are different people around the world who won't even listen to my voice because there are different languages, obviously, for that purpose. But like, I know I have some Brazilian fans, so obrigado. Thank you so much. I love you guys. And I can't wait for you to see how the girls fare with Vaxius and Damien and all the crazy stuff that's been going on at Althea, and I hope we get a season 2. So stick around and keep supporting it so we can see how everything pans out.